Hello everyone, welcome back to Ask Atreyu. So let's get right into it. Today's question comes from Hood Rich TM. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but you guys see the comment on the screen, so I don't have to pronounce it. Alright, it reads, so I'm thinking about starting my locks over. I've been locking for 7 months. Some of my locks are really thin and some are really thick. Do you think it's a good move to start over or wait it out? Okay, so I assume you're asking this question because you want your locks to be uniform, meaning you don't want some locks to be thin and some locks to be thick. You want them all to be the same size. You also said that you are 7 months into your journey. So for me, if I were you, I would think about a few things. The first is, has your hair locked up yet? I feel like the vast majority of people, they would at least have budding, right, occurring by now. But, you know, some people, it takes even longer, even over a year for their hair to lock up. So I would say that if your hair is already locked, then I would be much more in favor of not starting over and just kind of going with the flow. Something else that I would consider is, you said some of your locks are really thin. Now, when you say really thin, do you mean that like it's thinning and you're afraid they're going to break off, or are some of them just really thin? Because just because a lock is thin doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to break off, right? People have very small locks, they have micro locks, they have sister locks. Thin locks can grow really long without any problems and never be in any danger of breaking off. So let's look at this scenario two ways. If they are about to break off and your hair is not yet locked, then I don't know. If it were me, I would probably be more in favor of starting my set over, because hey, you're not locked yet, so what's the harm in that, right? But I wouldn't just start over and start doing exactly what I was doing before, right? If you do decide to start over, you need to figure out what happened and why those locks, those thin locks, started thinning. Did the parts need to be bigger? Does your hair grow away from your locks and they were thinning out with time as you maybe weren't getting maintenance done as often? Or, you know, maybe you're free-forming and that's what happened. So if you're going to start over, make sure you figure out what the cause is for the thin locks so that you can correct that as you start over. The other scenario is that they're not thinning, they're not in danger of breaking off, but instead they are just thin locks. And for me personally, I don't mind having different size locks. Some locks are thin, some locks are medium size. I don't have any super huge locks, but the point is I have lots of different sizes, and I just think that that's all part of what makes my set of locks unique. It doesn't bother me. So in that scenario, I would keep it and just keep on going strong. So yeah, it just depends. It just depends on what you mean by thin locks. And yeah, just factor in whether or not you're already locked, whether or not you mean thin locks or thinning locks. And if the locks aren't thinning, they're just thin, they're just a different size from the other locks, whether or not you can live with that. If you can live with it and your locks are not thinning and maybe your hair is locked, or even if it isn't locked, then yeah, just embrace it and keep on keeping on. Hopefully this answers your question. For any of you who have any more questions for me, please send them my way and I will answer them in an Ask Atreyu video. As always, please learn to love unconditionally, because loving with conditions conditions the heart to not really love at all. Atreyu is out.